At the beginning of the movie, a terrified couple is shown. The man is breaking all the mirrors in the house, but the last mirror remains unbroken. Suddenly, a witch emerges from the mirror and kills the man. A small monster also appears and leaves a scratch on the baby's face. A while later, when the woman enters the baby's room, she finds her child dead, with its body turning blue, indicating it had been dead for several days. The scene then shifts a few months forward, introducing another couple, Rachel and John, who move into a new house with their newborn baby. While unpacking, a courier delivers a large box filled with toys and a book, sent by Rachel's sister, Vivian. Vivian's child is the one who had died in the opening scene. Rachel opens the book, which contains a lullaby written in a foreign language along with its musical notation. Rachel cannot understand the language, but John does. He explains it as a lullaby and starts humming it with Rachel. Just then, the phone rings, and they stop singing before completing the lullaby. 6 months later, their baby starts crying incessantly and refuses to sleep. While looking for a bed sheet for the baby, Rachel comes across the lullaby book and begins singing it. The baby immediately calms down and falls asleep. At the same time, one of the mirrors in the house begins to crack. The witch from the beginning of the film is now trying to find a way into the house. One night, Rachel wakes up suddenly and sees a terrifying witch on the baby monitor standing near her child. She rushes to the baby's room, but finds nothing there. However, upon stepping out, she notices strange disturbances in the house, but cannot see anyone. Over the next few days, strange things continue to happen in the house. Rachel hears her baby crying from its room, even though the baby is with her. When she checks, the room is empty. Meanwhile, the cracks in the mirrors keep increasing, and the witch begins haunting them even outside the house. During a visit to the store, everything suddenly goes dark. One night, while John is taking a shower, Rachel approaches him. But John sees the reflection of a horrifying witch in the mirror instead of his wife. In fear, he pushes Rachel away. John now realizes that something is wrong in the house. That night, as they sleep, the entire house begins to shake. Doors and cupboards start opening and closing on their own. Frightened, Rachel runs outside. When John comes home from work and finds her sitting outside, she explains that something is in the house. John, armed with a metal rod, enters the house. As he moves through the house, their parrot flies past him, and in panic, John accidentally kills it with the rod. He feels terrible because the parrot had been with them for years. Rachel blames herself for everything, saying it all started after she saw the witch. John brings the lullaby book and asks Rachel if the witch she saw resembles the woman in the book. Rachel confirms it. John admits that he also saw her in the bathroom mirror. That night, John wakes up and searches the junkyard area for the book they had thrown away. He hears their baby crying from it and brings the book back into the house. The next day, John takes their baby to a priest, while Rachel visits her sister Vivian in a mental hospital. Here, they begin telling the story of the book. They explain that before the first couple, Adam and Eve, there was a woman named Lilith, who was incredibly beautiful. Adam used to sing the lullaby to call Lilith, and she would come to him. However, Eve did not like Lilith at all, so Lilith left and started living in the jungle with wolves. After some time, Lilith gave birth to children who were not like humans, but a strange mix of wolves and humans. On the other hand, Adam and Eve's children were very beautiful, which made Lilith jealous. Out of envy, she started kidnapping their children. Adam then created another lullaby to keep Lilith away from their children. He also trapped Lilith inside a mountain. However, Lilith used her magic to turn both lullabies into a curse. When someone sings the lullaby, Lilith travels through mirrors to their house to take their children. Vivian tells Rachel that if she takes her out of the hospital, she can help save her child. Rachel agrees and takes her home. Meanwhile, John returns home to find all the water taps in the house open. He leaves the baby outside and goes to the bathroom to turn them off. At that moment, a baby monster appears and throws a glass bottle near the baby. When John tries to turn off the taps, the bathroom door suddenly shuts, and he sees the witch's reflection in the mirror. Meanwhile, the baby is about to cut its hand on a piece of broken glass when Rachel arrives just in time to save it. When John sees Rachel with her mentally ill sister, he gets furious. Rachel explains that Vivian is there to help save their child from the witch. John angrily responds, "This woman is going to save our baby?" The same woman who killed her husband and hid her dead child in the house for a week. Vivian immediately tells them to cover all the mirrors in the house because the witch can only enter their world through mirrors. Just then, John gets a call from a priest. The priest tells him to come to his location immediately. Upon meeting, the priest explains that he has studied the case thoroughly. The lullaby associated with Lilith is a kind of curse and has 3 parts. Singing the lullaby. The death of an animal in the house, which John confirms has already happened with the parrot. The spilling of the child's blood, which will allow Lilith to take the child into her world. The priest gives John a candle stand and a written incantation, explaining that these will help him fight the witch. He also keeps the cursed book with him. Meanwhile, Rachel is sleeping near her child when Lilith's monstrous children appear and are about to cut her body. Rachel wakes up just in time. Vivian comes to her and offers to take care of the baby, saying, "You must be exhausted. Let me take the baby." But Vivian has other plans. She removes the coverings from all the mirrors in the house and injects the baby's arm with a needle. The baby's blood starts dripping from the wound. Vivian catches Rachel in the act and asks why she's doing this. Rachel reveals that her child is alive with Lilith, and when Lilith comes to take Rachel's baby, she plans to trade it to get her own child back. Enraged, Rachel attacks Vivian, and the two begin to fight. During their scuffle, Lilith arrives and takes the baby. In the chaos, both Rachel and Vivian accidentally end up in Lilith's world through the mirrors. Meanwhile, Lilith returns to the house and attacks John, trying to kill him, but he barely escapes. John, upon reaching home, lights the candles given by the priest and starts chanting the incantation. Terrified by the spell, Lilith flees the house. In Lilith's world, Vivian tells Rachel to call out to her baby. As soon as Rachel calls, she hears her child crying and follows the sound, eventually finding her baby. However, just as Rachel picks up the child, Lilith arrives. Vivian tells Rachel to take the baby and escape while she fights Lilith. Vivian attacks Lilith, but is ultimately killed. Rachel, carrying her child, searches for a way to return to her world. She hears John's voice coming from the other side of the mirror. John is chanting the incantation to help her. Following his voice, Rachel manages to return to her world through the mirror, but Lilith follows her back. Together, Rachel and John chant the spell and send Lilith back to her world. They think everything is finally over, but it isn't. Instead of bringing back their own baby, they realize they've brought Vivian's child. Their actual baby is still with Lilith. Determined to get their baby back, they plan to return to Lilith's world. John retrieves the cursed book once again. However, things have become even more dangerous in Lilith's world. Vivian, after her death, has transformed into a new witch because of Lilith's curse. She now holds Rachel's child, and the couple must face her to rescue their baby.